We speak. Our words. We listen.
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 Hello and welcome to Autistic Radio. Spectrum Voices Conversation is sponsored by coldpack.co.uk. For practitioners who want to use advertising on their cold packs and make sure that their customers keep coming back. If you're an end user needing a cold pack, when you use coldpack.co.uk to get your cold pack, here at Autistic Radio and Autistic Association, we receive everything that you donate for that cold pack to be sent to you.
Hello everyone, this is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 23rd of November 2025, and this is where we discuss the recent posts on Autistic Radio Facebook page. And the first post is from the Actually Autistic Coach, who's a personal coach who empowers my fellow autistic people by working to uncover and unmask, revealing our best selves. And they shared the following. Autistic liberation isn't about being palatable. It's about refusing to contort ourselves into shapes that makes everyone else's life easier while destroying our own.
I have found that saying no is often the most powerful tool that we have in our toolbox when we're autistic. Not to be obstructive, not to be demand avoidance, but to not accept the poor practice or things that do not fit that are intended to give us opportunities but don't. If we don't say no to things, then how can we get them changed? Maybe that's part of what the post is on about.
Yes, I agree. The thing about messages like this, quotes like this, words like this, is feeling to say it to yourself a lot of the time. Because you feel like society, other people are making you feel like a nuisance. If you sometimes have the courage to say no, to say that something, you're not adaptable to what they're asking you to do, anything like being sociable, going into work somewhere, and the way they look at it is you're just not being normal, you're just being a nuisance, a pest, and you should just get over yourself and just go on with life like everybody else does. Which is an absolutely nonsensical thing to say, because everybody else, what does that actually mean? But if you're stuck in a trap where you feel you've been undermined or not been taken seriously, those sort of words do haunt you. And it does take a lot of courage from yourself, from speaking with others that feel or share the same experiences as you to do that. And it's just very important for these kind of messages to be shared.
All my support was about making me compliant. It just left me traumatised.
Being forced to do something is a traumatic experience, but you're being made to feel like you're the problem, which I find totally unacceptable. I know there's a bit of give and take for a lot of things, but sometimes it just seems like, for many people, it's bullying, about power, and it's about that word that Robbie uses a lot, being compliant. And it's just wrong, because it doesn't help. If you're more inclusive and more flexible and adaptable, a lot of people would be a bit more involved in things, and it'd certainly be a better society than we live in just now.
The opportunities are always about fulfilling someone else's outcome, never about giving me the life that I want or working towards what I need. It was all about them, but just compliant.
The next post is from Grove, online community for autistic young people, which is an education website. Autistic-led support for young people, one-to-one mentoring and peer groups, authentic connection and self-understanding in safe spaces. Being me, exploring and embracing autistic identity, Grove helps young people feel accepted and celebrated just as they are. They've shared a picture collection talking about what they're all about. One-to-one autistic to autistic mentoring, There are lots of mentoring options available for autistic young people, and families often come across gaming-based services first, and this can be a great fit for many. At Grove, we game as well, but our foundations and approach offer something a little different, and were worth considering alongside the rest being small in comparison. Our one-to-one mentoring is led by autistic adults with deep knowledge, lived experience and specialist training. We work flexibly and commit fully to Grove's neuro-affirming foundations, and you can read these on our website. We adapt to each other's young person's needs, interest, communication style and sense of safety. Our mentors facilitate a huge range of activities, and through those authentic connections, young people can feel understood, seen and heard in a way many only experience with other autistic people. It's mentoring that supports self-understanding, identity and real-world well-being. And while being autistic gives meaningful foundation, truly supporting a young person's autistic experience requires mentors who are deeply knowledgeable and genuinely affirming. Without that, misunderstandings and unintentional harm can occur. We are a small, carefully selected team. Every mentor goes through a thorough interview exploring their knowledge of autism, PDA and neuro-affirming practice, and all hold an enhanced DBS with Children's Bard List check. Sessions are monitored and supported by Grove's founder, Jess, Amy Autism Distinction. Mentors are not left to work in isolation. We operate as a connected team, continually learning and sharing insights. In fact, autism is a shared special interest and it shows in how we work. We take time to match each young person with the right mentor, considering interests, energy and personality. Because you know your child best, and fit matters. We ask you about triggers, about trauma, your hopes and aims. We want to know as much as we can about your child, and we'll be honest if we feel we are not the right people to support. When choosing mentoring support, take a look at what we offer. It might be exactly what your young person needs. It's online only, worldwide, and we have space for new young people.
I can see Robbie in the text immediately says that something like this is needed for adults, and I agree. You know, that's kind of the space we're in here at Autistic Radio with the 444, for instance, the drop-in group. What I like about this is it's a group of people who have professionalised, and they've professionalised from an autistic background. It says that the majority of the people involved are autistic. The mentors are autistic. It might even be the whole group is autistic. And if you're closer to the autism experience, surely that's the mentor that is most effective. That's the mentor you would choose, somebody who is actually autistic.
I was thinking that if you read between the lines a little bit too, it's not just that they consult the parent about the child's goals, but by having an autistic mentor, I think they would go about getting at the child's goals too. I would hope so.
I think what you're saying there is that mentoring in this case is also advocacy. So if it's an autistic person who is the professional, they're also advocating for the autistic person with the empathy that they have with the shared neurotype back through to the parents and to the other professionals involved. So somebody is getting more than just mentoring. They're getting advocacy back and explanation.
And Rob in the text is saying that support should always be based on lived experience of autistic people in this instance. And I'm thinking about it myself, how great it would have been if I had that in school. Of course, wasn't diagnosed until just after I left school, with a mentor, someone to talk to. And even though I sort of did have that in a way, but it'd been great if there was that understanding that was there at the time. and to talk about certain things, to be assisted, mentored, of course. And it's great to know that this is available for people. And the online thing as well, because the online world has been said before, and gaming has been looked upon as a bad thing. It's looked upon as you're not being social enough, you're not being active enough in the community, which we know is nonsense because there's an online community, we're one of them. So it's good to know that these things exist and it can help people. And they speak to autistic people that use it, rather than it be referred to by carers or parents, even though that is very important too. But it has to be a team effort that way, depending on the circumstances.
Harry, just before the 444, the drop-in, and obviously this live broadcast, I made a recording with Dan Evans. Dan is a young person who has created his own mentoring through a podcast, the Danifesto. It's just started, but he's already got 2 episodes out there. So if people find the Danifesto, point any young people in their direction or people in education, I think that's something to watch.
The next post is from the Autistic Teacher. It's a public figure, autistic and proud, sharing insight and understanding to help the autistic community based in the UK. And they've shared a presentation on something called strewing. When my husband mentioned the word strewing, I thought he had made it up. But no, there is actually a word for what we often do. Strewing is the act of subtly introducing new experiences and materials into the environment without any pressure or expectation. It's about offering a silent conversation to explore the world in one's own time and space. It's a concept that works well with the natural curiosity of our children, particularly those with pathological demand avoidance, PDA tendencies, as it reduces the stress of demands and expectations. What strewing looks like? Strewing takes many forms, and it often requires a delicate balance of effort and patience. We use strewing in school, in our autistic community groups, and at home. This will often mean leaving activities out that you hope will spark an interest. The silent setup. Sometimes we set up a small activity or place, an interesting object in sight, and then simply step back. The idea is to allow the child to notice and hopefully gravitate towards it organically. It's about creating an atmosphere where curiosity can blossom without the weight of expectation. Sharing my own interest. Occasionally I'll share something I personally enjoy about an activity or an object. It's less about selling the idea and more about sharing a part of myself. It's amazing how enthusiasm can be contagious without it being enforced. Active engagement. I sometimes begin engaging with the activity myself, modelling enjoyment and presence. This can sometimes spark interest purely through observation. It's about being present and interested without placing the spotlight on them. Collaborative exploration. Getting involved often adds another layer of connection. There's something inviting about a shared experience, especially if it's approached with an open heart in mind. Strewing requires a gentle embrace of patience and acceptance. There are days when the interest just isn't there, and that's okay. It's a reminder to myself that the journey is as vital as the experience. If something doesn't engage them today, it might tomorrow. Or maybe a discovery wasn't meant to happen with that particular object or activity at all. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's about providing opportunities for self-directed discovery when they're ready.
So the word strewing we can remember because you strew the floor with different toys and let the kid pick up what they want rather than directing their attention. And it's about not directing the interest, but offering the opportunity so people can, or in this case, children can find it. That seems like the right way to go around things to me.
Yes, the more I read, the more it made sense. Because a lot of society, particularly in schools and other places, it's like many autistic people who are sitting quiet or just silently, quietly, kind of trying to just fit into the environment they're in, just sitting down, taking their time to get used to the room and that they're in, and things like that. The thing that happens is things feel forced upon you, like topics, like subjects, and it's like you're forced to enjoy them as well. It's like, come on, don't sit like that all silent, come on, join in, that sort of thing. But if you put things out and then give people time to take part if they want to, that's how learning can happen. And that sort of learning and that sort of non-enforced sort of approach, people can learn so much and even enjoy it. I think the whole thing about education in many ways, or learning new things, even if learning new trades and stuff, it's all forced and it's all pressured. And that doesn't work for many autistic minds, especially children.
It is exactly the opposite of what so-called support I've had as an adult. Everything has been forced, and that is what's been the problem. Same with when I was at school. Everything was forced.
I think we have to appreciate that over time that has changed. Maybe not enough, and it's only now that we're beginning to see this as an option. But it's taken a while for people to figure out what was actually going wrong with normative kind of education, say, or upbringing. My initial response was this provides affordance and availability in an open process. So what that means is what Joe said about strewing things around. I'd heard about this in some other online discussion and in some meetings I was in as well, that you don't go in what's seen as a declarative kind of gesture, if we understand declarative language, which is like sort of forcing people and saying, this is the way it's done. You create a space where things are just available and it's at the time and space, the intention of the neurodivergent individual to make any kind of move or to be active, not to be forced into it. So that's what that bit meant. And I think this connects with the previous post on mentoring, because all the way through that post I was thinking, we need this kind of novel new space, which is what strewing, I think, is implying. So, and that explains what I meant by non-declarative. If you remember the discussions we had about declarative language, and changing that into a more helpful kind of language where people have choice.
When I've seen autism professionals in videos who are there to enable autistic children, it feels very often that they are directing rather than strewing. And I think that's linked to why there's so much antipathy towards behaviorism, because many of the professionals who use behaviorism as a background to their learning direct, and this is the opposite of directing. So maybe there's a cultural difference there that people in other countries, particularly in North America, might see that this is different, what is being said here, to what they experience.
The next post is from Autistic Flair, which is a community page. Autistic Flair is an online community and resource hub dedicated to amplifying autistic voices to change perceptions of autism to create a more inclusive society. And they shared the following. Autistic people aren't trying to make excuses, and we're not hiding behind our autism diagnoses. We are finally learning why life has been so difficult. And the example they provided in the shared picture, autistic me, autism finally explained why jobs have always been so hard for me. Them, don't use autism as an excuse. Everyone struggles. Just push through. Autistic me, I'm not hiding behind anything. I want to work. I've tried over and over, but it gets to a point where my body and brain just shut down. It's not normal stress. It's burnout that wipes me out for weeks.
Yeah, and add on to that the stress of you have to work in order to survive.
I think you either, with a job, you just either get it or you don't. And I struggle through I think I worked it out. I've done 30 different jobs for 47 different companies in just over 30 years. And I just go into a job, and if I just didn't feel it, I just didn't get it. And there were jobs that I had for a while, and I would just wake up one morning and think, that's it. I've done this. I don't want to do it anymore, and I need to move on.
One of the things I noticed is even if I was doing incredibly well in a position, if they swapped out my manager, the next one might not get me at all, and it was not possible to continue.
Robbie says in the text, with adaptation, he was able to work at a charity shop for 10 years and his friend's shop for 10 years. And that's quite a length of time. You know, I've never really been employed by any one group for longer than 2 years. So 10 years, amazing.
The civil service department, I worked for 9 years, and I had the same job pretty much for 6 years. And then this particular manager came in, and I was an encyclopedia. I knew everything about what I was dealing with, the product, the business side, the technical side. There was nothing I couldn't cope with. And this manager completely sidelined me, and it was bullying, it was psychological, and it took a year to get me out. But in the end, they gave me £6,000 to walk away and keep my mouth shut. But I never recovered from that. My confidence was shot after that.
The next post is from Pete Wharmby, autistic author, autistic and ADHD award-winning writer and speaker on autism and autistic lived experience. And he shares the following. I'm delighted to announce that I'm going to be working closely with the organisation Anna Freud in the delivery of the new iteration of Autism Central, an NHS-funded support network packed with excellent resources for autistic people and their families. It's fully neuro-inclusive, of course, and there are some incredible people involved. I'll be making videos and blogs, consulting and providing general advice. Autism Central is a peer support programme co-produced with parents, carers and autistic people of all ages. We offer families education, coaching and connection through resources, one-to-one peer support and Q&A events. From the 1st of October, Anna Freud is proud to lead the delivery of Autism Central, commissioned by NHS England. Anna Freud is a world-leading mental health charity for children and families that has developed and delivered pioneering mental health care for over 70 years.
I was just thinking that it's not for adults and would be very useful for adults. That was mentioned in an earlier post. Also, the word pioneering. One would hope they've moved into the future more than just how this is written, like in actuality.
Yeah, I can hear a bit of scepticism there. Let's hope this is what it says it is. And if it is, let's hope that Scotland looks to it and sees what they can do to use autistic people and autistic autism professionals to produce something that fits with us up here.
Yeah, they're already sort of farming out some of their services, you know, like your link workers and that are kind of being supplied by local charities and religious groups and stuff like that. That's been my experience recently with NHS in Scotland. So something like this would be really good to get some equity into the situation.
Thanks everyone for the discussion tonight, and thanks to the people that have shared the posts. Really enjoyed tonight and really enjoyed sharing and hearing our experiences. That is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 23rd of November 2025, which is here through Spectrum Voices Conversation every Sunday, 5:55 PM to 7 PM UK time. I look forward to speaking next time. Now I'll hand off to Jules.
Let's remember our sponsor, coldpack.co.uk. If you're a practitioner who uses cryotherapy, Coldpack prints your details, your logo, on the Coldpack for your patients to remember you by. If you're the patient, using coldpack.co.uk means that everything that you spend on that site is a donation to us here at Autistic Radio and Autistic Association. Spectrum Voices Conversation is an Autistic Association production for AutisticRadio.com. If you have something to share with us, if you need a voice, you can make different kinds of programs with us. You can make a 10-minute short, or you can join us for a podcast to talk about a subject that is dear to your heart or something you think needs a wider audience. We have an open door policy for divergent views. We do not necessarily agree with everything that we share on our Facebook pages or the words expressed in our podcast. There are a lot of different divergent views which we are trying to allow get aired so that people can see things from different people's vantage points. We hope that you will join that conversation. Contact us through any of our links, Facebook, by email, directly to us.